This story is titled, My Fiancé Told Me He Isn't Physically Attracted to Me Anymore, but Still Wants to Get Married. My name is Julia, and I'm 32 years old. I have always been the kind of woman who believed in fairy tales, not the kind with castles and glass slippers, but the kind where love conquers all. Where two people choose each other, flaws and all, and build something real. For the past 3 years, I thought I had that kind of love with my fiancé, Ryan. He's 35, charming, funny, and incredibly smart. He's the kind of man who could walk into a room and command attention without even trying. When we first met, I was immediately drawn to his energy, the way he made me feel like the most beautiful woman in the world. And for a long time, I thought he truly saw me that way. But everything changed one night when he sat me down with a look on his face that I couldn't quite place. It wasn't sadness. It wasn't anger. It was detachment. And then, in the quietest, calmest voice, he said the words that would haunt me for weeks. Julia, I love you. I want to marry you. But I'm not physically attracted to you anymore. At first, I thought I misheard him. The words didn't make sense. My heart started pounding so loudly that I could barely hear anything else. I managed to choke out, What do you mean? He sighed, ran a hand through his hair and said, I don't know. It's not like I planned this. I just don't feel that spark anymore. But I still love you, and I still want to marry you. I felt like the air had been knocked out of my lungs. How do you process something like that? How do you hear the person you love tell you that, while they still care about you, they no longer desire you? I laughed, a bitter, broken kind of laugh. So, you're saying you love me enough to marry me, but not enough to want me? He flinched. It's not about wanting you, Julia. It's about attraction. It just faded. At that moment, my mind spiraled. Had I gained weight? Had I done something wrong? Was there someone else? Are you cheating on me? The words flew out before I could stop them. Ryan's eyes widened. What? No. Julia, I would never cheat on you. This isn't about anyone else, but wasn't it? If he wasn't attracted to me anymore, what was stopping him from finding someone he was attracted to? I felt the sting of tears behind my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. Instead, I asked the only question that mattered. Then why do you still want to marry me? Ryan exhaled slowly, as if he had been dreading this part. Because love is more than just attraction. We have a great life together, Julia. We laugh. We support each other. We understand each other. Attraction comes and goes. But what we have is deeper than that. I should have been touched. I should have been reassured. But all I felt was hollow. How do you marry someone who doesn't want you? The days that followed were a blur. I went through the motions, pretending I was fine, pretending I wasn't completely shattered. But every time I looked in the mirror, I couldn't help but wonder, was I not pretty enough? Was I not good enough? I confided in my best friend, Emily, who was livid the moment she heard what Ryan had said. Julia, are you kidding me? She snapped. He's basically saying, hey, I love you, but I don't want to sleep with you, and that's totally fine, right? I sighed. He's saying that love is more than attraction, that we have something stronger. Emily rolled her eyes so hard I thought they might get stuck. That sounds like something a man says when he doesn't want to let go of the comfort you bring him. He wants the emotional security of being with you, but he also wants permission to not feel passionate about you. That's not love, Julia. That's settling. Her words rattled around in my head for days. Was Ryan settling for me? I tried to push the thought away. Maybe he was right. Maybe attraction did fade. Maybe I was being shallow for wanting to be desired. But then, something happened. I found his phone sitting on the kitchen counter while he was in the shower. And I know, I shouldn't have looked. But something inside me couldn't stop my fingers from unlocking it. And that's when I saw the messages. They weren't from another woman. They were from a group chat with his friends. And in that chat, I saw the words that made my stomach turn. Dude, if you're not into her anymore, why are you still going through with it? Because she's the best option I have. Option, not love of my life, not soulmate, just an option. My blood turned to ice. I kept scrolling, my hands shaking, and I found another message that felt like a knife to the gut. It's not like I'm cheating. I just don't see her like that anymore. But marriage is about more than sex, right? Right. So this was his plan. Marry me, keep me, but never want me. I locked his phone and placed it exactly where I had found it. I sat on the couch, staring at the wall, trying to understand how I had become someone's best option. A few minutes later, Ryan walked in, towel wrapped around his waist, a smile on his face like nothing had happened, like he hadn't just shattered me beyond repair, I swallowed the lump in my throat and met his gaze. "Ryan," I said, my voice eerily calm, "do you really want to marry me?" His smile faltered. "Of course I do." "Because I'm the best option you have?" The color drained from his face. "What, Julia? What are you talking about?" I stood up, my heart pounding. "I saw your messages, the ones with your friends, the ones where you said attraction fades, but that marriage is more than sex, where you said I was the best option you had." His mouth opened, then closed. He had no defense. Because it was true. And in that moment, I made a decision that would change everything. Ryan stood frozen, his towel still wrapped around his waist, his face pale with shock. He knew there was no way out of this. No excuse he could give that would erase the words I had already read. "Julia, it's not like that," he finally said, his voice uneven. "You're twisting things." I let out a dry laugh, but there was no humor in it. Twisting things? Ryan, you literally said I was the best option you had. Not your soulmate, not the love of your life, just an option. He ran a frustrated hand through his wet hair, sighing. "That's not what I meant. Marriage isn't just about physical attraction. It's about building a life together, about stability." I stared at him, my chest tight. "So what? You were just going to marry me and hope I never noticed that you didn't want me?" Ryan opened his mouth, then shut it again. And in that silence, I got my answer. He was going to do exactly that. I felt a rush of emotion, anger, heartbreak, betrayal, all crashing into me at once. My hands were trembling, but my voice was steady. "I won't be someone's safe choice, Ryan. I won't be the woman you settle for just because I'm convenient." He stepped closer, desperation creeping into his expression. "Julia, please. I love you. No." I shook my head. "You love the idea of me, the comfort I bring, but real love? Real love doesn't make you feel optional." Ryan's jaw tensed. "So what are you saying? You're just going to throw everything away because of one mistake?" Mistake. That word sent a fresh wave of pain through me, as if he had simply misspoken, as if he hadn't knowingly chosen to reduce me to a backup plan. I took a deep breath, forcing myself to stay strong. "I'm saying I deserve more than this. I deserve to be wanted, to be chosen. Not out of convenience, but out of love." His eyes darkened. "You'll regret this, Julia. Relationships aren't always passionate. Attraction fades. You're being naive if you think you'll find someone who keeps that spark forever." I felt something inside me harden. Maybe he was right. Maybe attraction did fade. Maybe relationships weren't always passionate. But I refused to believe that love, the kind that made you feel alive, was impossible to find. I squared my shoulders. Maybe I will regret it. Maybe I won't. But I'd rather take that chance than spend my life wondering what it would feel like to be truly loved. For a moment, I thought he would fight for me, that he would realize what he was losing and say something, anything, to prove that I was more than an option. But instead, his expression turned cold. His shoulders slumped slightly, as if he had already given up. "Fine," he muttered. "Do whatever you want." And just like that, I knew I had made the right choice. The next few weeks were brutal. Calling off the engagement, dividing up our shared belongings, telling friends and family that the wedding was off, it all felt surreal. I cried. A lot. I questioned myself more times than I could count. But every time doubt crept in, I remembered those messages. I remembered the way Ryan had looked at me, not with love, not with passion, but with resignation. I deserved better than that. One evening, about a month after the breakup, I was sitting alone at my favorite cafe when Emily called. "So," she said, her voice teasing, "has the regret kicked in yet?" I smiled, stirring my coffee. "Not even a little." Emily laughed. "Good, because you'll never believe who I ran into today." I raised an eyebrow. "Who?" "Ryan." I stiffened. Oh, she mimicked. "And guess what? He was on a date." I blinked. "Already?" "Already." She sighed, "But here's the kicker. I overheard him telling his date that his last relationship ended because I wasn't ready for marriage." I nearly choked on my coffee. He said, "You weren't ready?" "Yep. Apparently, in Ryan's world, you were just some confused woman who walked away because you couldn't handle commitment." A sharp laugh escaped me. "Unbelievable." Emily's voice softened. "How do you feel about it?" I thought about it for a moment. Did it hurt? A little. But mostly, I felt free. "I feel like I dodged a bullet," I admitted. Emily let out a dramatic sigh. "Finally? That's what I've been saying this whole time." I laughed, shaking my head. That night, I went home and stood in front of my mirror, the same mirror I had stared into for hours after Ryan's confession, wondering if I wasn't good enough. And this time, I saw something different. I saw a woman who had chosen herself, a woman who had walked away from being an option because she knew she was meant to be someone's only choice. And that was more powerful than any love Ryan could have ever given me. If this story resonated with you, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Have you ever been in a relationship where you felt like an option instead of a priority? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear your experiences. And remember, you deserve to be truly chosen.